Hello everyone, and welcome to Goodnow Library Foundation's Books and Brews Virtual Gala. My name is Judy Petrovic and I'm president of the foundation. We all are so grateful to have you here tonight. As you know, we're breaking new ground with the virtual gala, and we're delighted that you're going to enjoy the adventure with us. We hope you enjoy the entertainment and the yummy food that you've picked up earlier at Goodnow. For those of you who have donated your meal to Emerson Hospital staff, we thank you very much. We also would like to recognize and thank our lead sponsors, the Emerson Hospital and the Chinese American Association of Sudbury. Thank you. As you can see, I'm standing here in this beautiful historical room at the library. As you may know, the town meeting recently approved $150,000 from the Community Preservation Fund to reimagine this room for quiet study, work, or whatever quiet activity that you want to participate in. The Goodnow Library Foundation is going to supplement that amount by $50,000 with your help. That is the amount of money that's required to complete the project. You'll hear more about this later. But now on to our show. I want to introduce you to Esme Green, the library's director, who will be our MC and introduce our guest entertainers. Thank you very much, Esme, and on with the show.
It's great to be here. This is a very different year than what we're used to, and there's been a lot of work done behind the scenes to present this evening to you. So I hope that you all have your delicious food and your beverages ready at home, and you're ready to get started for a really great evening. I just want to thank the foundation for all of their contributions to the library and all the projects they've worked on with us over the years. They're critical to the library's success and making it a part of your lives in our community. And also I would like to thank Janice Corkin-Rudolph for her statue that she just recently unveiled. It's gorgeous. It is a centerpiece to the project of renovating the second floor that we've been working on for the past few years. It's in front of the Now Lab upstairs, and if you missed it, we have a recording of her unveiling of that coming up for you next.
Hello everyone, my name is Holly Bernini. I'm Director of the Development for the Goodnow Library Foundation. I'm thrilled to be here today to introduce and to celebrate Janice Corkin-Rudolph in her most beautiful statue, Tree of Inspiration. Janice is an award-winning international artist, and lucky for us, she's a Sudbury resident who has deep ties to the community. Thank you all so much for being with us here today. We are so happy to have you. Now I would like to introduce Sam Greenfield, our former Director of Development, and she can tell you about the Goodnow Library Foundation's renovation project that led to this magnificent piece of work.
I'm Sam Greenfield, and I worked, we started this project to build the Sarah Sherman Now Lab years ago with the help of Ken Vana and the Sherman family. And when we came together at a party here at the library, Janice graciously said, "How can I get involved? This sounds like a very exciting, creative endeavor, and I would love to help." Knowing her statue was beloved by the community, she donated this Tree of Life statue. She said she wanted to work to create a statue that would share the whole vision of the Sarah Sherman Now Lab. And you will see that vision when we unveil it. That was amazing and generous of Janice. But then she went on to say, "How can I help you fundraise for more of this project?" She told me what she had done for a local zoo when she had sold tiles. So not only did Janice bring this idea to us, but she then said, "I will help create the tiles and I will offer my studio space and teach people in the community how to make these artistic tiles." So for almost 3 years, Janice would open her studio, invite members of our community to come in, and with the purchase of a tile that she handcrafted, they would paint them. And it was so amazing. We watched families, grandparents, couples, book clubs, soccer teams, lacrosse teams They would come into Janice's studio, create a piece of work of art. She would then turn it into a tile and put it in her kiln. We then went back out to the community and said, okay, now we need to take these tiles and her statue and bring it to life in the library. Thanks to Ken Vana again and Mike Precor for working together to build the base of the statue. Thanks to the Maxwell family for having a party to again promote this whole project. This whole piece of art became possible right here in the library, which is amazing. Not only that we got to this point, but for the future. I know as a Sudbury resident, I can't wait to walk into the library and see the Greenfield family tile and friends and other community members' tiles right here in the library. So Janice, what you have given us is so beyond anything we could have ever imagined. It's not only a piece of art, but it's a project that the whole community came together. And we are so grateful on behalf of the foundation. Thank you so much. And I want to introduce Janice to come out and show you this magnificent piece of work.
So this is called Tree of Inspiration. And I got the idea for the sculpture when we had that great big storm. It was a couple of years ago. So I was driving around and I found this particular tree branch. I thought, oh, that will be perfect for my sculpture. And what I wanted to portray was 3 teens doing something that they always wanted to do and that they continue to do all their life. And now I will unveil the sculpture and tell you more about it as you see it. You can see Yo-Yo Ma playing the cello, and here's Yvonne Spicer reading The Color Purple, and here's Sarah Sherman drawing in her sketchbook. When you get up close at a later time, you'll see a picture of the cardinal that's at the top of the tree. And when I found this branch, I could just imagine the sculpture. Now here are the tiles that everybody made. They go all the way around, and there is a plaque that has everyone's name on it. And on the bottom it says, this is a gift from Robert Lloyd Corkin Foundation. And Robert was my brother who died at an early age, suddenly, of an accident. And I have my name next to that as the sculptor. And thank you very much. It was really indeed a pleasure to do this. And I hope everybody enjoys it. And I hope they enjoy the library. So much of my life I learned from books, not just from my teachers. And I still do. And thank you again.
Welcome back, everyone. That was a great video of Janice explaining her statue and the process she went through to make it, and we're so happy to have it in our library now for perpetuity. It's such a gift. The library has been working a lot on the second floor to bring it up to date and make it more user-friendly for today's users. And we know that a lot of people like to work from home in the library. So one of the final phases of our second floor, reimagining the second floor project, was to make some changes to our historical room so that we keep its beautiful inspirational and historic character, but we make it more user-friendly and more accessible for the special collections that are in it. And if any of you were at town meeting, you'll know that we successfully got funding for some upgrading to that room for $150,000. And the foundation is pledged to provide another $50,000. So with that money, we will be reconfiguring some of the storage and some of the shelving, and then creating a nice big quiet workspace for people in that room, and then that room will be able to be open whenever the library is open. And for any of you who do come to the library to work, you'll have noticed that that room is always locked, and it always seems so tantalizing, and everyone always wants to get in there. So we're working hard to make that happen. It couldn't have been done without the foundation's help. And this is one of the great ways that your contributions to the foundation really pays off for the community. So we're really happy about that. Now, we also have another project that the foundation works on, and it's an intern project, and it's a way to get young people to learn how nonprofits work and how fundraising works. And so they have put together a few testimonials of patrons at the library. And I'm going to introduce our first one, which is from Sabrina, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what the library means to you. So please sit back and enjoy this testimonial.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Rumley, and I love the library because there's always something new to do. I go to the library with my mom, my dad, and my 3 brothers. Each of us have our different interests, and there's always something that we can find for all of us to do.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Sabrina. I love that. Now we're going to go to Jordan Mackey, who is going to do tonight's mocktail demonstration for us. I'm very excited and jealous that I don't have one of those for me right now. So here we go.
Jordan, welcome to my bar. We're going to talk a little bit about making some cocktails at home, because we all know we can't go to the bars that we know and love for craft cocktails. So if you're feeling adventurous, there's a whole lot that you can do at home to make delicious restaurant or bar quality craft cocktails in your own kitchens. I'm going to show you a concept that we call mulching. When we have a packed restaurant, everybody's having a good time, you want a cocktail, you don't want to wait 10 minutes for the bartender to stab the fruit to death in order to get those flavors in there. So we do it in advance, so it's a little bit faster. And it also keeps almost indefinitely, and we're gonna do it today with some Meyer lemons. Works very well with grapefruit. You can do it with clementines. We did a beautiful cocktail over the winter with clementines. And the sugar acts as a preservative on the citrus, so it protects its just cut flavor, like I said, almost forever. So you can have these in your fridge, and you can break them out when your friends come over, and you can impress them with wildly delicious cocktails that taste like you've been back there pressing the fruit with a stick for hours before your friends arrive. So I hope you have one of these, a little food processor at your house. If you don't, you might have a Ninja or a Magic Bullet or lots of different types of appliances that will accomplish the same task. So what we're going to do is just cut up some lemons. The most important part is that you don't get any seeds in there, because they will wind up floating in your cocktail. The rinds of the citrus are typically very bitter, which is why you won't often see the rind used in cocktail making. But the sugar actually pulls all of the bitterness out. So this is how we put it together. You're just going to throw your lemons in there and then throw some sugar in there. Your measuring is really not required, because it's just a matter of how much of this you use is how sweet do you want your cocktail to be. I get a lot of questions, can I do this without using sugar? As far as I know, the answer is really no. The alternative sweeteners don't draw the bitterness out of the citrus. So if you want to make a skinny cocktail, I'm sorry, but the options are a little bit more limited than they will be if you use the sugar. So we're just going to go ahead and grind these lemons up with the sugar until it's like mulch. It's just a paste. We're going to strain this out after we make the drink, or for some drinks we actually leave it in. It's a little pleasant. It's like candied lemon rind. And if you're making this cocktail along with me, awesome. You're going to want to let this sit for just a few minutes while you get the rest of your ingredients together, because the sugar does need a little bit of time to pull that bitterness out of the rinds. And what you wind up with, it kind of looks like marmalade. Really, really, really simple. And I'm going to set this off to the side here. Take this out of the way. And while that is sitting and resting, we're going to talk a little bit about tequila and shopping for spirits. Thanks to many of the nation's great bartenders, liquor stores that used to carry, vodka, gin, rum, all the basics, they now carry a really wide range of creative cordials and mixers to really allow you to do much better drink making at home. And you can get them in little pints, things such as limoncello that we're going to use today, or Cointreau, which is integral for a margarita, which is an orange flavored liqueur. Grand Marnier is also a great one for margaritas, and you can also get those little airplane bottles, which are perfect. So tequila, one of my favorites. A little bit to learn about tequila. There's typically 3 different kinds that you're going to find in any liquor store, depending on how your taste goes. You have a Blanco, which is unaged. There's no wood barrels or any type of other interference. It's just the blue agave distilled into a baseline spirit. So you're going to get those flavors, but it's going to be very, very mild and generic, right? So your citrus and the things that you mix with it are really going to be the star of the show. Then you have añejo, which is aged in wood barrels for different periods of time depending on the brand. I have Partida here, which is one of my favorites. Has a really, really wonderful flavor. That's going to give you more assertive. You're going to taste less of the lime and more of that tequila flavor. Those that like to drink tequila neat or on the rocks are definitely going to want to go añejo. And then here's another one of my favorites. And one of the partners of this company actually lives right here in Sudbury. His name is AJ. This is a little on the spendy side. You will find it here on the shelf at Stony Brook and as many Sudbury wine and spirit stores as he's been able to get it into. But it is without question the best reposado tequila that I have ever had in my life. And if you're willing to spring, I think it's $50 or $60 for a bottle. You don't drink a lot, but it is an unbelievable treat when you're by your fire pit in your backyard on a nice autumn night. In fact, I think I just talked myself into taking a little home tonight so that I can do just that. So those are your 3 basic types of spirits. It's really up to you how you want to take it, and depending on what kind of cocktails that you're going to make. We're going to make the limoncello margarita. This is one, as a Mediterranean restaurant, we said we got to do some tequila drinks. Everybody loves a margarita. How are we going to make this fun and interesting without making it a Mexican margarita? So we sat around the table and came up with tons and tons of incredible ideas that were all way more complicated than it needed to be. And we settled on a lemon margarita and said, since we're a Mediterranean restaurant, let's put an Italian influence and let's use the limoncello. And it wound up being our greatest selling cocktail by a very wide margin. It's very, very simple and easy to make at home. And it kind of gives that nod to all things Mediterranean by using the limoncello. So let's make one. So another thing to invest in if you don't have at home is a shaker. The liquor companies give these us for free. It doesn't have to be fancy, but you want a big one. You want to really be able to shake your drink. Making drinks at home, if you don't have a shaker, you can still make a tasty cocktail, but it's something about the way the ice both makes it cold and it also dilutes the cocktail, right? So adding a little bit of water into the cocktail is part of balancing the flavor. It's not too hot and burny if it's got too much alcohol, or it also helps to dilute the sugar. So it's one of the harder things to measure when we're creating a recipe for someone to make is how much ice is actually melting into the drink. So if you don't have a shaker and you are making this at home, you may just want to add a little spring water or a little club soda just until it tastes right for you. So we're going to start with way too much ice because we are going to drain the ice out, and we are going to put the cocktail over fresh ice. So all of these things are definitely playing into how the cocktail finishes off, flavor-wise. So if you don't have one of these, this is called a jigger. You should definitely have one of these until you get really good at using math in your head to know how long you have to pour to get the right amount. So typically they'll have one side that'll be up to 1 ounce, and then the other side will go up to 2 ounces. There's little lines in there to help you measure. All right, so we're going to start this with 1 ounce of tequila. A typical mixed drink is 2 ounces of alcohol, but since we're adding both Cointreau and limoncello, we're going to start with only 1 ounce of the tequila. So then we're going to go with a ½ ounce of Cointreau. And then a ½ ounce of our limoncello. All right, so we'll start with our spirits in there. Then we're going to, lemon juice, very important, that you have good citrus juice. Always make fresh juice. Margarita mix is a very, very terrible crime. Please don't use it ever. It takes a little bit of extra effort to squeeze fresh juice, and your palate will greatly appreciate it. Agave nectar, also another very important. It's what they make tequila from, and it also really gives you some underlying flavor and not just sweetness as you would get from typical simple syrup. And especially when we make the mock version of this drink, the agave is really integral because it still tastes like a margarita even without the alcohol. So we got our 1 ounce of agave nectar. And now that our lemon mulch has had a chance to sit a little bit, you'll see that some of the water will come out of the lemons, and it gives you this kind of sludgy mixture that smells absolutely incredible because you've activated all those oils. All right, I have a little bit here in my little jar. So the recipe calls for a tablespoon. You can add more, you can add less. It depends on what your tastes want you to do. You can make it really, really, really lemony, or you can make it a little bit lighter on the lemon. And those are all the ingredients. Really, really simple. So we're going to give it a good shake. A good lesson, a lot of bartenders will tell you, you want to shake your cocktail till the cold starts to hurt your hand. That's how you know that the drink is cold enough. And that's how you also know that enough of the ice has melted, that it's going to give you the right flavor. And then we're going to go ahead and strain this over some fresh ice. Pop a straw in it. If you want to get creative, cut a really, really thin wheel lemon. You can kind of float that right on the top as a garnish, and you got a tasty cocktail that is ready to go. Now, if we're not a drinker, that's totally understandable. My wife doesn't drink. That's why she's always very, very generous with the bottles in my stocking. She's very supportive, but she doesn't like to drink. So I like to make mock cocktails. My mother's the same way. She doesn't like a lot of hard alcohol, though she does like tequila. When she does drink tequila. So we're going to make the drink in a very similar fashion. But instead of tequila, we're going to use a little bit of ginger beer. So we're going to start with an ounce or so of ginger beer, maybe a little bit more. So it's going to give it some aroma, some flavor, so that it's not just like a lemonade. All right. And we'll add the agave. We'll get our lemon flavor in there, maybe a little bit extra. Maybe a little bit more agave now that I'm thinking about it, because the Cointreau is very sweet. And then I'm going to add a little bit more lemon juice than I did before. I'm going to go to maybe like 1.5 ounces so that we can make sure that the glass is filled up. And we'll give this one a shake. And a non-alcoholic version. of our cocktail to enjoy. And there we go. Please come and see us at 29 and soon to be Nan's Rustic Kitchen and Market at Stowe. And if you don't want to make any cocktails, feel free to come and grab one from us. They are ready to go. Just add ice and you're on your way. Have a great night.
Welcome back, everyone. Those look delicious, and I wish that I was drinking one right now. I really enjoyed that, and I can't wait to go make one myself. I also want to thank Jack's Abbey for their extremely generous donation of all the Copper Legend. I recently got a little backstory on how that beer got its name, and so now I'm really even more anxious to drink it. So thank you guys so much at Jack's Abbey for that. We want to introduce another fantastic testimonial next, and this one is from Isabella. So please enjoy this short clip.
Library.
Oh, from the library.
Read books at the library.
You read books at the library?
Yeah.
Thank you, Isabella. That was extremely inspiring. You're my favorite type of patron to make happy at the library. We are now going to start one of the other exciting segments of tonight, which is the storytelling portion. So tonight, first up, we have Norah Dooley to start with her storytelling video. Please enjoy.
Sometimes your antipathies collide with your passions and loves, and it can expose you to some interesting situations. Now, I love summer. I love summer. I mean, I love it with a passion. It's a physical love. I love the warmth on my skin. I love the air on my skin. The idea that as a New Englander, you can expose your body to air and have it be pleasurable is something that I absolutely passionately love. And then there's the caress of the sun on your skin. Oh, I just love it. But when you combine that with the ability to dive into a body of water, then I'm absolutely in heaven. That's what I love about summer. Summer for me is swimming. Swimming is the thing I have to do because after all that warmth and caressing and all that heat, the idea that you can take your body and put it into water that surrounds your skin, that you are in the water. It could be a pool, it could be a pond, it could be a lake, it could be a river. The idea that then the water holds you up and carries you in your arms and you're floating and almost weightless. Yeah, swimming, summer, those are my passions. I love it. And I made it my business to make sure that we did as much swimming as we could as a family outside in the world. Because when I was growing up, we had a family situation where I had a mother who was often not well enough to take us swimming. Sometimes we didn't have a car. We lived way down the end of Staten Island where it would take 2 buses to get to the one pool. If you didn't get there at 2 o'clock, you couldn't get in, which meant that you spent 3 hours on a bus and no swim. So let me say I was dedicated to swimming. And when some friends said that we could spend July 4th weekend at Lake Denison, where there'd be swimming, like days of swimming, and it was going to be July 4th weekend, so it was supposed to be really hot, and we had made this plan well in advance, so we had camping spots, our 4 children, a bunch of friends. This was going to be absolute heaven for me. So we're camping, and I realized, as it gets to be July 4th, that I've, changed body shapes quite a few times with having 4 children, and the recent child is only a year and a half old, so I need a new bathing suit. Now, as much as I love summer, and as much as I love swimming, I hate shopping. I loathe it. I'll do anything to avoid it. And clothes shopping is something I hate even more. And as much as I love swimming, and you gotta have a swimming suit, shopping for swimsuits is just not fun when your body is doing this kind of thing, changing shape. So I went to my favorite place to shop, which is to say Sally's Boutique or Salvation Army. And I looked for, there's a black bathing suit, one piece, perfect, took it off the rack, popped it into the washer, and took it on this camping trip. There we were. It was such a perfect weekend. And it was time to go swimming. We're going to go swimming. Yeah. So our older daughters, there's 3 of them, and they're 10 and 8 and 4. They're going to walk along the shore. But I'm going to take the youngest daughter on my bike in a little bike seat. So I put her in the bike seat, and we go down to the beach. We get there pretty early. So we're there. And you know how you walk with a little toddler when you're going into the water, she's holding onto my fingers, I'm bending over, and I can see our children coming around the cove and walking along the shore of the lake, and they start all of a sudden yelling at me, I'm like, yeah, okay. Mom's gonna have a bathing suit. Oh my gosh, what is going on? Is somebody missing a bathing suit or something? And I'm just enjoying this water, and the beach is packed. The water is full of people, it's very loud, and they're like, Mom's gonna have a bathing suit. Like, what do they think? Are my ovaries like clothes locators? No, just get a little closer, could you please? And they keep walking, and I'm just playing with the baby, leaning over like you do. And finally I hear, Mom, you have an enormous hole in the back of your bathing suit. Okay then. So I pick up my daughter, and I reach around to the back of what was my bathing suit, but there wasn't a hole in my bathing suit. There had been fabric failure. There had been an explosion of fabric. Everything had become completely unraveled. There was nothing there, and it was so hot I couldn't tell which part of my body had been covered with clothing or not. So I pulled together the shreds of my dignity and what was left of my bathing suit and turned around. And there were all these people on this packed beach, and they were just like, did they see it? No, they didn't. Others were just frankly laughing, red in the face, and pulled on my shorts and continued with my day. So, sometimes your antipathies, like I say, hatred of shopping, collides with the things that you love the most, and it certainly left me exposed. And I learned something, though. I learned that you gotta try it on before you wear it out.
Thank you, Norah. That was fantastic. Next up, we have Harold Cox. And Harold, I don't know if you remember me, but I used to work in Cambridge in Central Square, and you were our Martin Luther King speaker one year when I was there. And you were an amazing speaker, so I'm very much looking forward to your story. Everyone, Harold Cox. Thank you.
I'm a Texan. And if there's anything that Texans know how to do better than anybody else, it's talk. We talk loud, we talk long, and we are confident about everything that we say and that we do. These are the skills that I needed when I was working as a radio announcer at my college radio station. I was running a little classical music program. One morning, I was doing my show and I got a telephone call. Now, it's a little unusual to get a telephone call because my show is at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the only people listening to a classical music program at a college would be college students had just coming in from getting drunk, or people who were about to go out and get drunker. At any rate, I got this telephone call, and this guy said, look, I was listening to what you were doing, and I like what you were doing. I work for a professional radio station in town, and we like to bring people in to work in our station because we run this classical music program, and we like what you were doing. We want you to come and work with us. I immediately stopped listening to him, and I went into my own head, and I was thinking, I have been discovered. They know who I am. I am going to be a millionaire. People are going to know who I am. I'm going to be a radio personality. This is good. I can leave graduate school. I don't have to do this anymore. I went back and I was continuing, and he was still talking and telling me what he wanted me to do. And I said, yeah, sure, that's great. He said, look, I want you to come down to the radio station so we can talk about it a little more. I said, I'll be there tomorrow. The next day, I went to the radio station, and again, he told me, we are a professional radio station, we have a classical music program here, and we like to bring people in, and we want you to be one of our radio people. And he said, but before we put you on the air, we want you to work with one of our radio announcers so you can learn some about what it's like to be on the radio. So that's great, that's wonderful. So for the next 3, maybe 4 weeks, I worked with this guy who was one of the announcers. He taught me a lot of things about using my voice and what the show was like and a whole bunch of other stuff like that. And then when I was almost ready to go on the air, he said, look, we like a lot of things that you do, but there are 2 things that you do that we don't do here. The first thing is you say debut, as in P-Q-R-S-T-U-V, debut, X-Y-Z. He said, look, the call letters for our radio station are B-U-R. And what we don't say is debut, B-U-R. I said, that's fine. That's the way we do it in Texas. He said, well, this is not Texas. So I said, I'll learn. So I had to learn how to say W. That was very hard to do, but I learned how to do it. The second thing he said is, we really like the fact that you have good banter with your audience. We like that. But sometimes you say things that, well, we don't really know what you're talking about. So for instance, you say things like, this is not the only fish worth frying. I don't know what you're talking about. I said, it has to do with opportunity. You might take this fish, but there are a lot of other fish in the ocean. Or maybe it's this job that you want, but there are a lot of other jobs that you could choose from. It has to do with opportunity. He said, yeah, okay, that's nice, but we're not going to do it here. I said, okay, that's fine. So now it's 45 seconds before I'm supposed to be on the air. The technologist actually said, let's do sound check. Everything was fine. 30 seconds before being on the air, I remembered the very first thing that I was supposed to say. It's a thing that I have been practicing everywhere. It's 90.9 WBUR. I have practiced it when I wake up in the morning. I practice it when I take a shower. I practice it when I drink my first cup of coffee. I practice it when I'm driving in the car. I even practice it when I answer the telephone. Hello, 90.9 WBUR. It confuses people a little bit, but that's all right. 15 seconds before I'm supposed to go on the air, I readjusted my chair, I readjusted my headset, everything's fine. And now the radio tech is now counting down because it's getting close for me to be on air. 10, 9, and I know that I've got to speak in just a moment. 3, 2, 1. And I said, nothing. absolutely nothing. For the first time in my confident Texas life, I am more scared than anything I have ever been in my life. I am frightened. I cannot make anything come out of my head. And the radio technologist is actually kind of saying, you gotta speak, there's dead air. I don't know what is dead air, but I do know that I can't speak at this very moment. And so I was really trying, and I was trying to force things from my brain out into my mouth, and it finally came out, and I said, "Nya." And he just looked at me, and he said, just keep going. And I thought, okay, I gotta do something right here. Maybe what I need to do is introduce some music. This is, after all, a music show. Maybe I just need to introduce some music. So I said, we will now hear Rodeo by Aaron Coppola. Who is Aaron Coppola? It's Rodeo, and his name is Aaron Copland. I am just petrified. I don't know what to do at this particular moment. And then I thought, I gotta do something to calm myself down. Now, I know they don't want me to do this. But I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to say, this is not the only fish worth frying when it's my time to talk again. I know that will calm me down. When it was my time to talk again, I said, well, we're going to go out and catch a mess of fish. I don't know where that came from. And we're going to cook it in maybe some canola oil or maybe some butter or maybe we'll use some vegetable oil. I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know where this is coming from, but I just got to keep talking. And it gets worse from there. I pushed the wrong buttons. I put the wrong music in. I did everything wrong. And then it was 2 hours that passed. And I was so glad to get out of there. I pushed the chair underneath the console, and I ran out of the room. And when I opened the door, there were about 5 or 6 people who were walking past the door, and they were laughing and they were pointing. And I'm absolutely certain that I heard somebody say, he is the one that was making a fool out of himself on the radio. Well, they couldn't really have known it was me, but whatever. I ran home, and there were messages on my answering machine from my friends. And the messages said things like, well, keep on trying. Well, needless to say, that radio station did not invite me to come back and be there again. But over the years, I've had a number of successes. And the thing that I have learned is that radio station, as good as they were then and as good as they are now, they're not the only fish worth frying.
Thank you, Harold. That was fantastic. And our final storyteller for the evening is Sara Sweet Rabidoux, who I actually know from playing softball. So she's also a great storyteller. So please enjoy this video.
So I click on the first few ads in Men Seeking Women on Craigslist, and it's all pretty much pictures of wieners. I'm more of a face gal myself, so I'm gonna keep looking, but now I'm only gonna click on ads that have good titles. I mean, it's late. I should be asleep, or looking for furniture at least. But I keep scrolling past all the sugar daddies this and no strings attached that until I see the title Yankees tickets and a toaster. Now, I don't want Yankees tickets. To be clear, I am from Boston and I like the Red Sox. But toast is my favorite food, and I don't have a toaster in my new apartment in Brooklyn. In fact, I've had a super rough time since I moved to Brooklyn. I had a terrible falling out with my very best friend, and every date I've been on has been weird, or gross, or both. The last guy I went out with told me he was wearing licorice underpants. Whatever Yankees tickets and a toaster is can't be as weird as that. And so I click. I am relieved to not see a photo of a forlorn wiener dangling over a nest of computer cords, but instead a brand new toaster. The ad is straightforward. This guy is looking for that lover of baseball and toasted bread products to go with him to one of the last 4 games to ever be played at Yankee Stadium before they tear it down. He's never been there. Plus, he's a Red Sox fan coming down from Boston. The ad says the best response will win the ticket and the toaster. The game is tomorrow. Now, I don't know who wrote this ad, but they wrote it for me, to me. I am that lover of baseball and toasted bread products, and I am homesick for anything Boston. I have no choice but to reply. I add the basic stats. Red Sox fan, love toast, don't have a toaster, 5'7", athletic, and free tomorrow, which is now technically tonight. I attach a photo of myself, hit send, and go to sleep. In the morning, I wake up and check my email. Well, I check the fake email that I just made up last night, and there's a response from him. It says, I've won. I'm so excited. I write him back, I'm going to buy a loaf of bread. He tells me, meet him at Grand Central Station. Waiting for him there, I'm going back and forth between blind date butterflies and the stark realization that meeting a stranger from the internet in front of a train station is the beginning to more than one episode of Law and Order. I mean, I could just buy a toaster, but suddenly there's this smiling face in front of me. He's picked me out because I'm wearing a Red Sox hat, and it's a pretty good face. I'm not really getting a Law and Order vibe. So we jump on the number 4 train and head towards the Bronx. We laugh and talk the whole 9 innings. I mean, our seats are in the very last row and we can't see anything, but we have a lot more in common than baseball and toast. We linger a while after the game, sort of taking it all in, and Yankees fans are like coming up to us and having us take their photo for them. You know, it's like the last night they'll ever be in their favorite place. And this is starting to seem less and less like a blind date from the internet and more like a classic night out. We part ways at Grand Central Station and we say the things you say like, I had a great time, and if you're ever in Boston. And it's not until I'm almost home that I realize I have not received my toaster. In the morning, there's a text message from him and he's saying, oh, he's so sorry. The toaster's in the trunk of his car, which he valeted at the hotel, and he totally forgot. And I'm like sort of annoyed because I like to win things and I had bought that loaf of bread, but I text him back, LOL, next time, figuring there will be no next time. I will never see this guy again, and I'm definitely not getting that toaster. Later that night, I'm out with friends. Well, not real friends, like New York friends. And I get a text from him. He's still in town. It says, hey, what are you doing? My friends just blew me off. And before I know what's what, I'm writing back, so did my friends. Where should I meet you? He replies, the Grand Hyatt Central Square, Times Square. I am very from Boston. Now, these friends aren't really my real friends, and they think it's a little sketchy that I'm going to meet this guy at his hotel. And while I almost value their opinion, I won that toaster, and I'm going to go get it. In the morning, after a late checkout, he and I stand on the curb as the valet brings his car around. And he pops the trunk and hands me a toaster still in the box, as promised. And we say the things you say, like, I had a really good time, and if you're ever in Boston. And he gets in his car and drives away. And I have this crazy feeling like seasickness or euphoria all at once, that it's somehow wrong that he's driving away back to Boston, to home, without me. And my brain is like, whoa, hey, you just met this guy on the internet. But the rest of me is like, look here, brain, you're the one who brought us out with the licorice underpants guy. And my brain is like, that's fair. But then the rest of me has to decipher the feeling I'm having. And really, the only thing it can be is love. I'm in love with the toaster guy. And that makes me insane, right? I mean, had you told me 2 days ago that I'd be standing in the street pining after a guy I just met on Craigslist, whose ad I happened to see in the middle of the night, an ad for Yankees tickets, and that I would reply in order to win a cheap toaster, I would have said, that's crazy. But had you told me this guy and I would have everyone take me out to the ball game at our wedding, and that we would be making toast in that very same toaster 12 years later, I would have told you that is something else. Thank you. Why am I writing that?
What do you think? Doesn't that look awesome?
What do you think? What do you see in there?
Rainbow.
A rainbow. And what else? Do you see a unicorn in there? Oh, I see many unicorns in there. Many different unicorns.
This is
That's one. That's the one. Oh, that's the one on the front? Yes. That it is.
right here and this right here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And a rainbow.
And a rainbow. I wonder what that girl's name is. What do you think? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you want to come sit over here and have a seat on the yogi boat?
11, 12, 13, 14, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14.
Welcome back, everyone. That was amazing. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Jacqueline. Fantastic. Now has come to the time of the evening where we're going to introduce our wonderful piano player who you've heard a little bit from before. He's Patrick Durkin, and many of you may know him as your local piano teacher who helps you become a better player and inspires your musical talents. But he's also a published songwriter and piano player, and also has traveled the world playing his music. So tonight we're going to treat you to a little bit of his magic fingers on the ivory keys. So take it away, Patrick. Thank you.
Close your eyes and I'll kiss you. Tomorrow I'll miss you. Remember, I'll always be true. And while I'm on my way, I'll ride home every day, and I'll send all my loving to you. All my loving I will send to you. All my loving, darling, I'll be true. I pretend that I'm kissing the lips I am missing, and hope that my dreams will come true. And while I'm on my way, I'll ride home every day, and I'll send all my loving to you. All my loving I will send to you. All my loving, darling, I'll be true. Woo! loving I will send to you. Oh, my loving, darling, I'll be true. Oh, my loving, oh, my loving, oh, my loving, I'll send to you. When the rhythm starts to play, dance with me and make me sway. Like a lazy ocean hugs the shore, hold me close, sway me more. Like a flower petal in the breeze, bend with me, sway with ease. When we dance, you have a way with me, stand with me, sway with me. Other dancers might be on the floor, but my eyes will see only you. Only you have that magic technique. When I sway, I go weak. I could hear the sound of violins long before it begins. Make me sway as only you know how. Sway me smooth, sway me now. Other dancers might be on the floor, but my eyes will see only you. Only you have that magic technique. When I sway, I go weak. I could hear the sound of violins long before it begins. Make me sway as only you know how. Sway me smooth, sway me now. You can dance, every dance with the guy who gives the eye, let him hold you tight. You can smile, every smile for the man who held you underneath the pale moonlight. But don't forget who's taking you home, in your arms you're gonna be. Oh darling, save the last dance for me. Oh, I know that the music's fine like sparkling wine. Go and have your fun. Laugh and sing, but while we're apart, don't give your heart to anyone. And don't forget who's taking you home. In your arms you're gonna be. Oh, darling, save the last dance for me. Don't you know I love you so? Can you feel it when we touch? I will never, never let you go. Oh, I love you oh so much. Go and dance, go and carry on till the night is gone and it's time to go. If he asks if you're alone, can he walk you home? You must tell him no. And don't forget who's taking you home. In your arms you're gonna be. Oh, darling, save the last dance for me. Oh, I know that the music's fine like sparkling wine. Go and have your fun. Laugh and sing, but while we're apart, don't give your heart to anyone. And don't forget who's taking you home. In your arms you're gonna be. Oh, darling, save the last dance for me. And don't forget who's taking you home. In your arms you're gonna be. Oh, darling, save the last dance for me. Cha-cha-cha. Well, I'm Patrick Durkin. I wanted to thank the Goodnow Library for having me this evening. I love this place. The main reason I love this place, I love books to begin with, but I've been teaching piano in Sudbury for 12 years, and I've always had my recital in this library. It's the greatest place to have a recital. The people are so wonderful here, and this is an amazing piano. I'd take this home in a second if I could, but I'm going to get some Jack's Abbey beer right now anyway. But anyway, I want to thank everyone, and please support your local library, and I hand this over to Judy.
Hello again. We hope you had fun. Tonight, I would like to kick off a campaign to fundraise for the historical room renovation, something that our patrons have been asking for quite a while. I invite you to find out more information or donate by visiting our website. Finally, I would like to thank the library staff and the Gala Committee for all of their hard work. And especially, I want to thank you for being here. Be well and have a great night.